We're waiting for some players to be named later.
My name is Jim Walsh. I will be directing our meeting this afternoon. And I'd like my fellow commissioners to introduce themselves. Pardon me?
Doug Kellner.
Andy Spano.
And Gregory Peterson.
Around the table, we'll wait for the other two to get back to introduce themselves, but in the meantime,
John Conklin.
Risa Sugarman. Good morning.
Kim Galvin.
Anna Svitzer.
Brian Quayle.
Kathleen O'Keefe.
Bob Rem.
our guests, please, starting on the right, your left.
Michael Hennessy from the 121st Assembly District candidate. Jimmy Vilkine from Capital New York.
Bill McMillan, Libertarian Party of New York.
Amy Allo, League of Women Voters.
Rick Carlin, Times Union. Dennis Gerard, Board of Elections, IT.
Todd Valentine.
Thank you all. And what is your name, sir?
Joseph Burns.
All right, thank you. We'll open our meeting with the vote to approve the minutes. Everyone review the minutes. Oh, one more. And what is your name, sir?
Tom Connolly.
Tom Connolly, thank you for attending.
I move the adoption of the minutes as drafted.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Yes, please. And your name, sir? Thank you, Mr. McCann. Now that everyone's introduced, I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank Brian for attending his first meeting today and getting us off to a good start. We look forward to working with him for a long time. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Unit updates, Executive Bob Graham and Todd Valentine, please.
Well, I mean, we've been focused a lot on the independent petition filing period and the challenges that have been brought to that. We've had a very large number of challenges to independent petitions, which has taken a lot of effort on the staff to review, and that's reflected in Anna's document, which I don't want to steal her thunder, that she's put together. And we're continuing to work on the other major projects that we're dealing with, and when we get to IT, we can talk about that on Nysboe to refresh, and of course, we're still trying to move along with the redesign for the candidate and financial disclosure database as well. In addition, obviously, Brian has come on board, and we've added some more personnel, so we're looking forward to the election 5 weeks from now.
In addition to the items that Todd covered, Tom Connolly and I attended a meeting at the invitation of New York City's executive team, Mike Ryan, Dawn Sandow, and Pam Perkins, to meet with David Becker and his team from Pew to discuss the Electronic Registration Information Center. That was on the 18th. So it was another opportunity to discuss what some of the activities are happening around the country. They're estimating that by the end of 2015, they'll have 15, perhaps a little bit more states as part of that program. And also David wanted to inform us that they're going to also offer another round of funding for states that participate to help with that first year communication requirement to persons that are not presently found to be registered. So it was an interesting meeting, and that took place. One other item that is, Todd and I are also going to do the IT report, so we'll save some of that for that portion. But with regard to personnel, we're still working to fill the IT director position. We had requested Todd and I to meet with State Civil Service to review some of our options, and once we complete that, we may come back to you with some recommendations, because we are not yet ready to find. We have not identified a person to fill that position yet. And in addition to Mr. Quayle, who started yesterday, we had another person start since your last meeting, and that's Jamie Salm is one of the compliance review audit positions. She started yesterday also. So that it'll be generally the personnel items.
Thank you very much. Council and Compliance, Kim Galvin, Kathleen O'Keefe.
Yes, Commissioner, thank you. Our unit has been very busy. There's been an extremely large number of specific objections filed against the independent petitions, as was stated, that has taken the entire staff of the building to work through. And they have been augmented, if you will, by court cases all over the state that we're trying to deal with. Just when we thought the cases were winding down, we got served with 2 yesterday on judicial nominating conventions. So that's taken a lot of time. Tom's been handling the Department of Justice for us on the UOCAVA ballot issues. He's been doing a great job with the surveys, as he always does. Compliance is doing their very best with the staff that they have to do thousands of compliance reviews and following up on all of the phone calls that come along with sending out deficiency letters. The Comptroller's Office was here yesterday, is my understanding, on the public financing. Kate Orsino and Vicki Gonzalo have done the yeoman's job on that. A lot of great work there, and I believe that they were suitably impressed with the status of that program as it stands right now. Whether or not we'll have a qualifying candidate is still a mystery. They are in contact with the one candidate that has shown interest and filed the application. But there has been no qualifying match submitted so far for us to move forward on. And of course, we have the numerous calls from staff and county boards of elections and things regarding ballot access issues and ballot format, layout, and the like. Kathleen?
Just to supplement what Kim has said, we've had 3 reports, the 11-day pre-primary, the 10-day post-primary, and the 32-day general. Obviously, that's generated a lot of work for the compliance unit. We have approximately based on what we've already reviewed, about a 2/3 record of compliance. So we're actually quite pleased with how this is working out. The more we do these, the more people seem to be doing them correctly, so that's very good news. And obviously that as things improve, the work that is generated when they're not in compliance is reduced. So this is a good sign.
Is that the second go-around? No, I remember last month, we
Yeah.
were about at a third.
Right,
These are the ones that you sent back and came back.
exactly. So now we're at about 2/3 compliant, so that's
Very
really
good.
quite good. I want to reiterate what Kim said about Kate and Vicki. They have done a phenomenal job on the public financing program on a very short time frame with limitations in our system, and the Office of the Controller, I understand, when the staff came here, were very impressed. I heard that as well, so thank you to both of them. The independent expenditure link went live in June, and we have approximately 80 disclosures that have been made at this point. They can be viewed on the independent expenditure link on the website under campaign finance. We are continuing to talk about the new FIDA system, and the thought is perhaps to have subgroups that will address the areas that they know the best and talk to IT about that. We have had a couple of other cases that are not the straightforward petition cases where candidates are vying in court. We had the one case where the redistricting proposal had been challenged. The judge issued a decision there. On 2 of the 3 challenges, the judge rejected the relief sought, so that the proposal and the form were not held to be advocacy language and were not held to be unconstitutional. The judge did order us to take out the word independent, which we did. We didn't replace it with anything else. We just left the rest of the language the way it was. And then recently we had a second case that's been brought with respect to the ballot configuration for the comptroller race, the Attorney General race, and one county DA. We are expecting a decision from the Albany Supreme Court on that today. And that's really about it.
Thank you. Election operations, Anna, please.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have, our monthly report is in your packets, but I will summarize it here for you. And Joe, if you could remind me if we've missed anything in here. We have provided the revised language to the county boards and have worked with the PIO unit to make sure that those translations get done, and we'll be sending those out. All the other translations were done and completed and provided to the boards and to the two primary printers in the state that handle a lot of ballot work for the county boards. We are working with boards in building ballots, both for election day and central count systems. We're working with them on questions they have concerning test decks and other pre-election testing requirements. Our staff is divided up by region now so that county boards can contact a specific person so that there becomes a familiarity there with the county and how they do business and the people that are doing the work there. So it opens up communication a little bit.
Very
A lot
good.
of that ends up being off the record, but it is helpful. We are working with Clear Ballot for their central count submission to us. Their source code review is done by their lab. It's being sent to our lab. Once our lab completes a build, we'll actually have a product here that we can do functional testing on. So when that happens, we'll make sure that you're aware and share those dates with you in case any of you are interested in working with us on that. And then there's a component of that we do publicly. We post that on the web, and boards are invited, as is the general public. We have from ES&S, last month we shared with you several engineering change orders that did not require testing. This month we have more engineering change orders from ES&S. Some of them do not require testing, and we're required to advise you of that, which we're doing today. Some of them do require testing. Initial testing was completed on them as part of the Election Assistance Commission's certification of their voting system. So those source code review reports are going to go to our lab. We'll do the review, and we do feel, as does Nysboe, our consultant, that we need to do some functional testing to make sure that nothing else is disaffected by these changes. So we'll be scheduling that as soon as the software package is delivered to us. As with everybody else in the building, we have been preoccupied with all of the filings relating to the independent petitions and also with Supreme Court. 419 petitions were filed, 188 acceptances, declinations, objections, etc. 111 objections I have on our report. 47 sets of specifications were filed in the independent petition filing season, which just wrapped up a short time ago. Supreme Court filings, 20 nominations were received from 7 judicial districts. 60 candidates were nominated. We have 3, our report says 2, but we did get an objection in yesterday. So we have 3 objections to Supreme Court nominations as of this morning. Joe, do you have anything? I don't have anything else to add.
Commissioner Kellner.
Could you just review what you're doing with respect to ballot usability issues with the counties and continuing the education process to get them to improve the usability of their ballots?
We are preparing the statewide component of the ballot. We're trying to add Supreme Court to it just this morning, but when we certify the ballot, we'll be sending those samples so the boards will be aware of the layout. And we also provide pointers to use the largest font possible, to use sans serif font, to not use party emblems in the voting squares. The statute says that boards are not required to do that, but there are a number of boards that still do. And having those party emblems inside the ballot, the candidate square on the ballot, is confusing for voters. They see that as an oval already filled in. It's confusing for boards when they do their post-election audit because some of those emblems look like votes cast. So we're looking to enhance that list of the tips that we provide for usability. We're looking for more white space, a bigger font size, etc. We do incorporate some of the flush left and other language that has been in some of our legislative package proposals and has been shared with us by
So are
good
you-
government groups.
Are you sending out explicit guidelines to the counties with the ballots?
We do it in a best practice format, yes.
And then I noticed in the exhibits that were attached to the papers that were submitted in the Cahill case to Judge McDonough, that you had 3 different formats for the yes/no boxes on the ballots that were submitted. And I seriously question whether a usability person looked at how the yes/nos were set up, especially where the marking oval is immediately to the left as opposed to on top of the yes/no. Because they're so close together, it looks like, at least I think it's possible that some voters will think that they're voting yes while marking the no oval. So I'd like you to look at that again and to just check for consistency on why some of them seem to be well set up and some of them are not, of those 3. And then another question I had is that in New York City, when we had to go into a second row because of the number of candidates exceeds the capacity of the voting machine, the numbering of the box, and of course I support the pending legislation to get rid of the numbering of the box, and I would urge the boards to make that number in as small font as possible so not to be distracting. But that the city policy was always to keep the numbering consistent so that if it overflowed the row, it wouldn't change the number. It wouldn't change the so that if you were running for governor, you would be given number 1, even if you were in row L or column L and in the overflow, instead of giving additional numbers for the boxes. Now, I understand that back in the old days with some of the voting machines upstate, that you needed the numbers to match the counter numbers in the back of the machine. But that doesn't make sense to continue doing that now, and it's confusing because the voters don't realize that they're all running for the same office, and therefore the numbering ought not overflow. If I had a copy, I could show you just what I'm talking about.
I have a New York City copy.
I guess this one's a little bigger.
And then there's a second issue in this sample here, which is that
These are just drafts, I brought them down for exactly this purpose, but they haven't been
right.
reviewed. So.
Well, you did it this way, following the city model, because everything is labeled 1. So all the candidates for governor and lieutenant governor have a 1. And the same for controller, they all have 2. But that's not how it appears on the upstate ballots. On the
Do we have that ability on the Dominion system? Or is it
So-
hard?
Well, if
So
we had
for
known it
exi-
was going to be an issue, we could probably
So,
answer
well,
that.
it's just what the number is assigned.
Well, I'm not sure.
In other words, you have,
Because it's a column.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, but they're columns, the governor and lieutenant governor should be, in giving the ballot position, should all have in my view, should all be 1. So that, I'm looking at this ballot
Does the
here.
legislation
But if you
itself speak
also-
to that?
But if you also wrap, excuse me, Kim, in the governor's contest, because the race has to be wrapped, you would have 2 candidates with the same ballot position. I agree, we should get rid of the letter and number.
No, their row, so Michael McDermott and Chris Eady's, their row should be J. It should be labeled 1J, and that's consistent with how you put the city ballot together.
But there is no
which makes
J
more
row
sense.
on the upstate.
There's no J column on the city ballot either. The city ballot first of all, you should be consistent. It should be the same rule in New York City or upstate, and not one rule for New York City and a different rule for upstate. And I think the city rule makes more sense and is more usable from the voter's point of view, because it's clear on the city that you're voting for the same contest. And that's less clear on the state ballot if you're going to use the numbers. I mean, I'm in favor of abolishing these numbers, but the only reason they used to do it this way on the upstate ballots was for those voting machines where you needed to know the ballot position in order to read off the number from the back of the machine. So, look, I'm just raising it. I'm asking you to look at it and to review it. There was another issue, is when you're wrapping columns or wrapping rows, that the candidates of the same party should be physically in the same column regardless of how the wrap works. And the example that didn't,
The one there,
now,
the 1C, the 1, the 2, the
well,
J.
here they did it.
I don't know that I've ever seen
On
that
the
on the
att-
city ballot.
On
Well,
the
we aren't
exhibit,
prepared to.
on the exhibit,
There's a J.
on the exhibit, one of them did not have the columns consistent. And so you had candidates of the Libertarian Party all listed in J, but not in the same column. I
On which one?
don't have what was attached yesterday. Is that from the court paper? Let me just, I'll show it to you.
No, it's only one side of the board is talking.
That was a draft that had not been reviewed yet, so it was
Right.
still, it
All
was
right.
still, it was
All right,
still
well,
a long way from done and a work
okay.
in progress.
All right,
So
so
it's
my point
misleading,
is,
it's misleading to think that that was complete in any way.
Right.
all right, well
They're
then
all
that's what
drafts.
I'm raising, because with the independent bodies, when they're wrapped, if they should be wrapped in a way that the independent body is in the same physical column or same physical row
As the
throughout
party.
the ballot.
Yeah.
And not, if in one contest there are
That's the way it's always
12
done.
candidates, and in another contest there are only 9 candidates, the independent body's column doesn't move so that it's not in the same actual.
It's supposed to appear in
row.
the same column or row, yes.
Okay.
Just
Well,
to
that wasn't the case on one of the ballots that was
Just to be clear, the
attached
judge
to the court.
signed the order show cause directing that the board produce examples of the ballot. But we, at least in the papers that I submitted, I did say these were drafts. We were not finalized with those at all.
Okay, well, and I just emphasize that we really need to be paying attention to the ballot usability rules, because, I mean, that's our job, and we're supposed to be professionals.
While we follow the statute.
To the extent that we have to follow the
Right.
statute, yes, but where we're not, and by the way, putting them in a different column does not
Right.
follow the statute, in my view.
Right.
We agree with
And
that.
how we assign the column and row numbers, I mean, the format governs it, but in my view, when you're doing a ballot wrap, the number should be the same for all of them, even though it's wrapped into a second column. That's my recommendation, but I'll leave it to the staff to do it. I'm just asking that they pay attention to these usability issues. And the same with the yes/no. I think this layout with the yes on top of the circle and the no and with the wide spacing is very usable. The,
But not what the statute says.
Right.
well, and the format for the city
Thank you,
is
Anna.
less usable. All right.
Anna, do you have any further comments?
No, I think I'm pretty wiped, but I have lots of notes to take back when the meeting's over. Thank you.
NVRA PIO, John Conklin?
Thanks, Commissioner. I did manage to get a written report in your packet this month, so I don't really have anything to add to that. I think Tom has a couple of things he wants to just raise quickly.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, the first and most important is I just wanted to thank all the counties who all did certify to us that they got their ballots for military and overseas voters out by the, not later than the 45th day before the election, which was they got them all out by last Friday, which was actually the 46th day. So I want to thank them all for their efforts in, for getting all those out. Next important deadline is next Friday, which is the 32-day deadline for counties to get the state and local ballots out to military voters. We did remind all the counties on a conference call we had yesterday, but I'll remind them again here on this meeting in case they're listening, just to remind them that there will be 2 ballots for military voters this year, 2 separate ballots, one for the federal offices and one for state and local offices. We do this just to make sure that there's no confusion and that we keep good statistical data for the Department of Justice reporting that we have to do, and also the reporting we have to do for Judge Sharp's order. Beyond that, John and I have been involved with IT and both election ops and compliance with regard to the development of FIDUS and CAPUS, the redesign. We were able to participate in some demos of software that other counties and agencies use to kind of get some ideas. And also, in case it's not mentioned in the IT department report, we did ask county boards to send to us any poll site changes they may have made, just so that we can have the most up-to-date listing of poll sites, so that for our website, when we use the poll site lookup tool, and when we provide that information to other agencies that also provide tools, that information is the most accurate it could possibly be. Other than that, the only thing is that we are working on getting the newer translations for Prop 1 with the language changes. Otherwise, the other translations have been completed, were given to the counties, and are posted on the website.
Thank you. ITU, Bob Bremen, Todd Valentine.
Jumping right in there. We miss Dave Loomis a lot, but in order to fill the gap, because it's taking us a little longer to identify a replacement, we do meet weekly with the senior people in the unit to try and complete, what are the projects and what are the priorities when there's a question. So Todd and I have been meeting weekly with the staff. In addition to meeting with the staff, we are very grateful that Dave Loomis's unit that he went to, his cluster, has agreed to make him available to us during the transition period. We're very fortunate to have that happen, and we meet weekly. Todd and I with Dave Loomis and with Adam Gignet, who is the cluster leader of our group, as well as with, it rotates with at least one of our senior staff members in the room, just so we can make sure that our IT projects do not slip during this period of time. So that is continuing to happen. The major projects, CAPUS FIDUS, is the campaign finance candidate management system. We have a project manager on staff. Last meeting, I think we discussed that we are continuing to work to identify the resources to keep that program going. All of the approvals to hire the resources have been received, and it's just a matter of doing the solicitations, going through the resumes for the people to respond and get them in place. So it's quite a process to get that approval to be completed. So that was one of the items that we all worked on. So we're happy that we believe that the process is finally in place to get the help in the building for that project. One other one that is a major project that you did vote for the money a very long time ago, which is the Nysboe Refresh Program. It took us somewhere around 16 to 18 months to renew that contract. We went through 3 versions that Todd and I signed, but we finally had it approved in time for the last meeting, and the project manager is on staff now. Raj is the project manager for the Capus Vitus system, and VJ is our project manager for the Nysboe Refresh. For Nysboe, we found a day between getting all of the certifications done and the general election. We think October 8th is going to be great for the kickoff meeting, because there is no great date. It's about the least worst date that we could kind of fit in and still have the attention of people for the initial kickoff. And from our perspective, the initial kickoff is really to make sure that our internal IT staff, our consultant IT staff, and the state IT staff, at least from a principal, get on the same page, and with our senior team. And then we'll bring in, once we know they're on the same page, that we have to bring in some of the county board and other stakeholders. But we knew we could not do that in October when they're getting the ballots out and doing everything that they need to. So we think we could squeeze in an initial kickoff meeting on October 8th to keep this project moving, was to get all of the state IT people at least to be on the same page. And then we'll just have to work a project plan forward to make that happen. So that was good news. We had a lot of cooperation from the counties and from our people to set up the election night reporting. This primary was one of the more complicated ones that we've had. Last year the kickoff program was based on 6 yes or no questions on the ballot. That went well. The federal primary in 29 counties was pretty simple. It was a few people in a primary, but for one office. That went well. And this year's primary, we had an awful lot of candidates running on all kinds of processes, and that we did notice some capacity issues that significantly impacted what we could post or what people could see were being posted. So we have been working with the IT staff to come up with a full evaluation of that, and we are setting up the load testing programs now. And we believe that we have made the accommodations, but we're going through the test over the next within the next week or so, to make sure that we can meet that capacity issue, because it has been working very well. The counties have cooperated well, and we are able to display an awful lot of information very quickly on election night, which is something we have never been able to do before. I like to say we were about the only state that didn't have the numbers, and now we do. And we noticed there was a little hiccup there in the primary, but it's been a high priority to make sure it doesn't replicate itself. Other than that, I think the report highlights most of the other items. Todd, I don't know if there's any other.
No, those are the 3 main projects that we're working on.
Very good report for a person who's not in charge of that unit. You may want to hold back on hiring her.
No.
No, you don't, really.
Don't let DOB hear that.
Don't let him kid you.
No.
Well done, thank you. Enforcement, Reese Sugarman.
Good morning, Commissioners. We are well underway. We are conducting our investigations. The enforcement email, we are getting notifications and contact through that. We are conducting interviews for our audit staff, and I hope to speak with all of you during the executive session.
Thank you. No old business, new business. Vote on petition rulings. Please, going to guide us through that, please.
You want to do it, Anna, or?
Do you want to do it, or?
Oh, you folks can.
Thanks, Anna.
You're welcome.
Basically, this is the standard report from the petition reviews that
There should
we
have been
have.
a table in everybody's package. It should have been on the last item.
Supplemental staff report?
Yes, entitled Supplemental Staff Report. It's a 2-page document.
Might be front and back.
Yeah.
Mine is, which I think.
So what are the new rulings we're making?
All of these are new from your previous.
That's right.
Since our last meeting, these are the objections that have been filed and the petitions that have been filed and the objections that have been reviewed. And it's divided into our usual three several sections.
All right,
Did you
so
want to do this?
you want me to read
I don't
it?
care.
So we're declaring invalid the petition for McMillan, Felix, and Fisher for governor, lieutenant governor, and controller.
Right, these are all independent petitions.
Then, all right, and that's prima facie.
Correct.
So the next line, McMillan and Felix for governor and lieutenant governor invalid, that's based on rulings on specifications in addition to the prima facie.
That's correct.
Correct.
And then hearings, we're ruling that Castricone for assembly in the 98th district is valid. Then you have 3 invalids that are off by court order, so that's not us.
Correct.
Then you have Gibson for Senate in the 41st district, invalid. And then, I skipped the next one because that's court order. And then Bowman for Senate 5th district, petition valid. Arnold for Senate 62nd district, petition invalid. Benedito, Senate 8th district, petition valid. Roberts for Assembly 103rd district, invalid. Hennessy, Assembly 121st district, invalid. So that's what we're voting.
Correct.
All right, so I move that we approve the staff report.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Does that conclude that section of our report? Everything
Yes.
on there?
The gentleman's raising his hand.
Oh, these,
Yes.
Yes, that's all.
Commissioner,
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Can I interject at this point? I'm the candidate for the one.
Okay, if I may, please, I'll be right to this. We do not set aside a portion of our meeting for public speaking. However, there are always exceptions that to be made, and with the permission of my fellow commissioners, we're more than happy to hear from you for a short presentation. Is that all right with fellow commissioners?
Yes.
Okay, please go ahead.
I want to thank you. I want to thank the 3 counties I ran in. The Board of Elections offices were very cooperative, very professional, and did a good job.
I'm sorry, sir, what is your name?
Michael J. Hennessy,
Thank you.
running against a 12-term Democratic Assembly person is not easy in the first place. During that time period, I went out with friends to get an independent line, excuse me. And we got over 1,700 signatures. We threw out some pages ourselves before we submitted them. We worked very hard at doing that. And we do not agree with your recommendation, the recommendation that came in front of you. In fact, I was here a week ago. I drove in from Charlotte, New York, a 2-hour drive. And I expected to be able to go line by line because I don't have the capacity to be able to look line by line on my own. I don't have the finances or the people or the technology until late in the game. At that point, I was not given the chance to go line by line with ideas of where I would have been able to convince your group to put back signatures. In fact, I want to point out that in the court order that was sent to my house on September 2nd that we did not get to September 4th, which has been dismissed because of improper service, or would have been proven to be improper service that it continued. So we come back to the Board of Elections here, and you've got a different number. In fact, the number they submitted to you is a different number, 3 different numbers, and the people are working on right now as I speak, because we're going to take this to the court. Can't figure out which number to use. The process is wrong. No one's getting the independent line because of the way you're grading this. It's absurd to have to get out 1,500 signatures well after all the other signatures have come in, eliminating many potential signatures. The law, as far as can one witness a Democratic signature and then sign somebody else's who's witnessing that signature, then carry, was told to me one way in the first 4 weeks of getting signatures. In the last 2 weeks, I was told what I thought to be the right way, and would have given us another 300-400 signatures easily, was not even known amongst this office. The rules are so ridiculous. You don't, and this is supposedly a progressive state where you want people to participate, you want to give people a chance, and you make it so difficult for anybody that runs on a third-party line, or excuse me, an independent line. I've seen this process. I've seen it so tilted where, and I can't go into too many more specifics about it because we will be subpoenaing people actually in this room. I feel that the process is wrong. I feel that we weren't given any fair chances. I didn't even get a receipt. I did not pick up until the 9th of September the knowledge that we're not just going into court over it, that we're now going through the board of elections. And I have proof that will be submitted at that point when it needs to be. I knew, I was told I would not win in here. Obviously, when I look around and I don't see the lawyer representing the petitioner or the petitioner himself, who's never showed up at anything. In fact, a local paper's picking this story up right now as we speak, and he doesn't even know what I did wrong or what our group did wrong getting signatures, and he sends it to a political person in that county to try to answer the reporter. This has been a political move to keep me off the ballot to protect a longtime Democratic incumbent, and we're going to have our say in court. I appreciate you allowing me the chance to talk here, to express my disappointment in the process. I'm not going to argue with you over signature here and there. That should have been done last week, and we'll take it to the appropriate arena in the next few days. I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Hines. It was very gentlemanly and professionally put. We would not have a go back and forth. You are possibly subpoenaing members of this, in this room here, so we would not continue this discussion. So I wish you well in your future endeavors. Thank you. And your desire to run for public office. That's a compliment to you.
Before we go to executive session, I wanted to raise one new matter, really just as a heads up now, that I would hope to have on the agenda for our next meeting, a discussion of our 2015 legislative proposals, and in particular, to discuss language on ballot usability that we would propose, the revisions to the canvass procedures, and the electronic poll book legislation. And then early voting, I realize, might be more partisan, but the other three, I would hope that as the election professionals, we can at least have a discussion on trying to get the ballot usability, canvass procedures, and electronic poll book authorization legislation straightened up from a technical point of view. And there have been drafts going around, and I haven't gotten any response on the drafts. All right.
Thank you.
So
I don't know that we have
Next time.
decided on a meeting date for our next meeting, or are we on hold for that? I believe we are, aren't we? Hold? Okay. I have,
Well, can we agree to the one we have to have? We have to have one by December 15th, so at least we can get that one going, because I know it's Monday, December 15th. In order to certify the general election, we have to meet by that date,
December the 15th?
December 15th.
Under the statute.
So we have to meet not later than that date for the purpose of certifying the results. And if we meet any earlier, there's a good chance somebody won't be here, since we always have to chase after a few counties. who will be nameless. So we have to have one close to that date. It's a Monday. If that works for you, we'd like to try and fill it in before it becomes less available. And then certainly we'll need something to take place before then.
December 15, anyone have any problem with that? We'll tentatively set for
What
December.
is that, December 15th?
December
It's
15th is a
Monday,
Monday.
Monday,
Yeah.
December 15th.
I'm okay.
And the other will be on hold, notifying the membership and the public of the next meeting date. Is there a need to go into executive session? I believe that we said, so would somebody like to make a motion to go into executive session? Second?
Second.
All right, we're moving to go into executive session.
Okay, we're back live.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, I forgot to write down the
So
next.
do we have to
meeting.
vote to go back
November
into
6th.
open session?
Thank you.
We voted to go out of that to win open session.
We're going to go into
Your chair.
public
Mr.
He'll
session.
be happy.
All in favor of coming into public session?
Aye.
Aye. Any vote to be recorded or?
We're talking about adjourning to our next meeting on
Letting-
Thursday, November 6th.
Same time, same place. All in favor of adjourning? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried? Away we go.
So I told my wife, don't worry about it.